Hello everybody, Blake Denny here with Unlimited Training Systems, once again bringing you a tip of the day. As you can see, the topic of this week has been all about the thoracic spine and its importance to a volleyball athlete. So today I want to teach you all about how to differentiate between thoracic spine movement and lumbar spine movement. And a couple quick things to look at is one simple test I like to do is if you can look at the side of a person while they move their arms overhead, it can quickly become known what they're using to put their arms overhead. And so if you see here, we'll go through a normal arm raise and we'll get those hands extended, and then I want you to watch again and see the big difference between the two. Whereas I go and I get my arms overhead and I get a big arch in the back. And obviously that's a big exaggeration, but it's something I see quite a lot with a lot of young athletes, especially young females. And so what happens here is I actually see people get to here, and instead of extending up through our scapula, we end up using our lumbar extension to get farther up. As a result, we end up with a lot of, unnecessary compression on that lumbar spine, and then at the same time, we end up putting a lot of forces onto the shoulder, and this is where we end up with stress fractures of the lower back over time, shoulder impingement, among other things. So, how do we fix this? How do we teach a young athlete how to differentiate between the two? First off is we don't put that athlete into overhead positions until they've learned to gain the necessary stability and mobility from the parts that they need. So, the first thing I do is making sure that an athlete has the necessary thoracic spine extension that we've mentioned many times, and I use a simple foam roller. So, one thing that you're going to do is you're going to put the young athlete down on the ground. We're going to get that foam roller to the middle of the back, and one thing I always teach my young athletes is learning to make sure we get those ribs down in position. From here, we simply take those hands overhead, and we are going to work to get that upper back around the roller, and back up, around the roller, and we will just work our way up that back, and so on until we get farther and farther up that thoracic spine with the hope of keeping the lower back still while we extend. Moving farther, we also look at it from another vantage point, and that's lumbar stability. So, does the young athlete have the ability to keep their lower back under control while they're doing all these explosive movements? And so the first movement that I start with teaching young athletes is what we call a dead bug position, or dying bugs. And so with this one, you simply are going to place the athlete on their back. We get their feet up to 90 degrees, hands out for balance, and what I teach them here is then we're looking for ribs down. If I see a big arch in their back and a lot of space here, then we know they're not controlling the lower back. So we squeeze those abs hard, and we just work on moving those legs through a range of motion while we keep the lower back still. Another variation will be to go overhead, keeping the lower back still while we move through a range of motion. So, one of the first things I implement in a program for young female athletes is those dead bug positions. Teach them how to keep that lower back still while we go through a number of movements. And it's something that I encourage you to start trying yourself. Have your athletes start doing this daily, because the more often you learn to control the lower back, the more explosive you can get through other movements. So I hope you give this a shot. Please feel to give me feedback with any questions or answers as well, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thank you.